Welcome to Backstage with Becca B, with special guest Ruby Lewis. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, if you live on the West Coast, you might have seen her in several For the Record live shows. She also toured with We Will Rock You, starred as Indigo in Cirque Du Soleil's Paramour on Broadway, and played Marilyn Monroe in Marilyn, a New Musical. Please welcome Ruby Lewis. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic, all things considering, you know?
I know. I'm like trying to just busy myself around the house, stay positive.
Yeah. It's a new year, hopefully.
All of my resolutions have already gone out the door, let's be honest.
I don't make resolutions anymore. I just am whatever worked last year, I'll do this year.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I did. I'm like, this didn't work last year, so I'm going to switch that up. But I'm just kind of drawing it out a little bit for comfort. I think it's a creature comfort thing.
Yeah. And it's like, last year was so crazy that it's like, okay, so we want this year to be like as great as possible for all of us. So I think we're like overreaching maybe.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, trying to get a head start on making something happen. I know, but
yeah.
It's going to be a long haul, so.
It is. So anyways, how have you been doing? How have you been keeping yourself busy during this time?
I've been just taking on all kinds of creative projects. It's been really fun. I am in Vegas, and I have a house in Vegas, and I'm just very fortunate that I have all these ladies that live in my house with me. My roommates are all very creative, so I've got musicians in the house, and I worked on my garage is now my studio, so it's not only a vocal recording studio, but it's a photography studio, and we've got all of our crafts out there, and that's just kind of where we go to just putz around and create stuff, and it's been so awesome to just have somewhere to play, so that's kind of all I've been doing, just playing around, writing stuff, and working on the house. That's about it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vegas, what makes you choose the West Coast over the East Coast to live on? Because you're in musical theater and you're fantastic in musical theater, but you consistently found stuff on the West Coast.
I know, it's been weird. I never ever thought I'd end up on the West Coast. I went to school, and then I'm like, New York City, that's my spot. And then I ended up on the West Coast because of a dude, a boyfriend at the time lived there. And that's the only reason why I ended up in Los Angeles. But then it ended up being amazing because that's where I joined my theater company, For the Record, and that just led to so many things, including Vegas, And so when I was doing Baz here in Vegas for the second time, I'm like, I never ever thought Vegas would be a thing, but it seems like it is. So I guess I'll buy a house here, and
yeah,
it's a lot cheaper than buying in New York City. So that's how that happened.
Before I get into For the Record, because I have a ton of For the Record questions.
Okay.
Have you always known that you wanted to go into theater, or was there something else that you thought you were going to go into as a child?
I think when I was even in college, I started off undeclared, and I thought for a long time I wanted to be a choreographer. Ooh. Because I was really into dance. I competed nationally. I was, driving 45 minutes to train. When I was growing up, I was really into dance, and I still really love choreography. So I was thinking about going into that sector, but then I think once I got to college, it was just probably the shows that they chose for us to do, the musicals that they chose for us, just hooked me. They knew what they were doing. They hooked me in. So, and then my class was the first class that they made the BFA in performing arts even available, musical theater even available. So we were kind of the guinea pigs, and so I just joined the program, and the rest is history. But I've always done theater. I've always loved it.
Yeah. I was going to say, dance and theater are also they also go together really
Yeah,
well.
I
So
think too in college I did choreograph a few things and I loved it, but then once it came time for the show to, be put on and I wasn't actually in it performing, I'm watching and I'm just like, dang, I wish I was in that.
I want to be on stage,
Uh-huh.
like choreograph something with yourself in it, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's the answer. Because it's
That's
really hard for me to watch without performing. Yeah.
being on stage and like, yeah, I mean, because like for people who have seen you on stage, I think they'd all agree that like you're meant to be on stage and meant to be like singing on stage, performing on stage. You're so good, as I mentioned.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's like my place. It's almost like I can drop into a meditative state on stage. It's so weird because some people have, stage fright and it's the opposite for me. It's like stage unfright.
Yes, it's like
Yeah,
where you're comfortable.
it's
So
true.
your voice is so stunning. What training helped you with your singing and like growing your singing to a place where it's like so consistently like it's top notch?
I think I give a lot of credit to the training that I got in college because it was a brand new program and they were still building it. We didn't have a musical theater, like we didn't get voice lessons within our theater program. We had to go to the music program. So I trained classically, and my teacher, Elizabeth Volkman, she sang at the Metropolitan Opera, and so she was really challenging me. We did arias, Italian arias,
Ooh.
and I really do think between that and in high school, my choir director, he was really strict on sight reading, and we sang some hard stuff. We sang the Handel's Messiah suite in full every year, and that was like, that's like it's all that placement stuff. I think really helped me, even though it was in my soprano. It just helped me with placement in general, and it helped me with consistency and breathing. And I mean, I think it just built my strength up in a way that I didn't realize at the time. I thought, this is silly, I'm never going to be an opera singer, but now I'm just very grateful that, yeah, that I think that it helped set the foundation in a way. And then from then on, it was like, I also credit when I was doing the Greece tour, which was my first big equity gig.
That must
Um,
be
it was
amazing.
so much fun, but every single week we would move almost every week. So every Monday we would travel to the next, and then so every Tuesday we'd have a sound check. And I use that sound check as a means of kind of like a vocal warm up, and I pushed the sound guy just hated me. I mean, I just like push like
I'm
to the
sure not.
edge of my belt, to the edge of everything, and just give him everything I got. And doing that every week, I think also helped for a year and a half. And it's just been a constant, like, things come to me to help me to elevate my art. So it's been really great in that way.
Yeah, your range is like I feel like you could sing anything.
At this point, I'm like, I think I've covered most genres. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
So for the record, I have to talk about because like it's been such a huge part of your career on the West
Yes.
Coast. How did you find out about For the Record?
That is such a great question. Okay, so I was in LA, and when I first auditioned for the Record, they did not cast me. I remember actually, they
Oh,
were, yeah, they
what?
were they were putting up, it was a it was Baz before the Great Gatsby movie was even out. So it was Baz when it was, I think they call it 2.0, because they did one version of Baz when they first opened in this tiny, 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 tiny bar. And then this was Baz 2.0. And I went in and I remember I sang one of Satine's songs, and Steve Mazurek said, "Oh, wow, I've never really heard that sung in a kind of country way." And I was like, "Oh, I wasn't really meaning to sound like that, but I was just young and from Kentucky, and I don't know." So I didn't get cast, and I went on the Jersey Boys tour. And then something told me to leave the Jersey Boys tour and go back to LA. And I went and auditioned again. And I'd gotten on their mailing list just because the club, Rockwell, I went there on like Monday or Tuesday nights, I can't remember, back in the day, for open mic night. They would have a pianist there and you could bring your book. And I just missed New York. I missed being around musical theater people. So I would go by myself and take my book and just sing whatever out of my book just to practice. And I got on the mailing list, and that's how I found out about the auditions. It was just kind of
Oh,
happenstance. Yeah, it wasn't my agent or anything. It was just happenstance. And then when I first joined, it was just they were doing shows so rapidly, and
yeah.
it was like every 4 months it was a new show. So I just jumped in, and it was just like this glorious machine of creativity and artists. It was amazing.
It's such a special show,
Oh
and
man,
I mean,
so
there's
cool.
so many of different shows in For the Record.
I
Like, I
know.
don't know how many at this point. I was
Mhm.
like on YouTube, like searching, like how many are there?
I've lost count. I was watching Forrest Gump the other night, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, Ours the Mecca show was so special, and it hasn't seen another production since we did it at Rockwell. I'm like, oh God, we've got yeah, so much good, yummy stuff people need to see.
Do you place the songs like in the movies where they're at in the shows?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think my friends and even my boyfriend, he gets annoyed because I'm like, oh, and For the Record, we did this, it's like
Yeah.
the women in the robes and stuff. I was like, oh, I was one of these women in For the Record. Oh, we had Lieutenant Dan in For the Record too. And, we used it. I don't, yeah, it's just constant.
Love it.
Yeah, it's constant.
What what's been your favorite For the Record show to be a part of? Because I mean, they're all so good. I feel like that's a
Oh,
hard
so
question.
good. I know. I keep hoping though that they'll bring Scorsese out here to Vegas. I think that that would do really well out here, with Casino and everything. And that show, it's just like the soundtracks to the Scorsese films, like the 60s, Aretha, and there's just so many good powerful songs in that one. I would love to do that one again. They did it at the Wallace in Beverly
Yeah,
Hills, and I think I was on tour at the time, and I didn't get to do it. And yeah, it's one of my faves for sure.
it it's a good one. I saw it at the
Mhm.
Wallace when it went back to
Did
the Wallace.
you?
I missed it pre the Wallace because I wasn't in LA yet, but
Oh, I missed it
luckily.
completely. Oh, yeah, it looked wonderful.
it-
So I'm hoping. I keep talking to them about it, so we'll see.
when it For the Record hasn't been at the Wallace, they're normally at like small venues and like intimate venues. How do
Hmm.
you think that helps with the show and with the feel of the show? And how do you think that that's like made the show work as well as it
That's
has?
Yeah, that's kind of part of it. It's part of the MO of the company because I think people, especially people who are huge fans of the movies, it's like you are in the movie, you're immersed in it. I remember doing Scorsese in Rockwell, and it was like the scene from Goodfellas, I think it is, where Joe Pesci, they're getting into the like, you talking to me, you talking to me. I mean, that they were sitting at a table with patrons,
Yeah.
so it's just like you're in the movie with the actors, and it's just so much more exciting that way, I think, than being, having a proscenium separate you. So I'm still a major fan of that. And there are a lot of venues here in Vegas that would be just great for that. So I continue to push for
Yes.
it.
I've never been to Vegas, and I keep telling myself that I'm gonna go to Vegas when For the Record comes back in Vegas.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think I'd be into like the Vegas scene, but I'd be into like For the Record there.
Yeah. I'm excited for, I mean, I'm not to say I'm very sad for Cirque du Soleil, and they've already
Yeah.
permanently closed a lot of shows, but I think that COVID has now kind of leveled the playing field in a way to where all the theaters, all the venues are open, and then they're going to want to reopen because it's the entertainment capital of the world, like they say. They're going to have to reopen with a smaller budget, and I just think that it's going to be the time for these smaller companies to move in and to be the entertainment. So I'm really excited to see what happens
Yes, fingers
once.
crossed, fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah. Once everybody gets healthy and everything's cool.
Speaking of For the Record in movies, how do you, since you've played so many characters that are like popular from these movies that like people love, um,
Hmm.
how do you make these characters your own?
Yeah. I think that I approach it. I mean, sometimes Anderson, who is our director, sometimes he'll get on us if we are playing caricatures of the characters. If we're
Yeah.
just um, pretending to be Keira Knightley, for instance, in Love Actually. But I really think I try to get their physical mannerisms down as much as I can. But then I think I just through the process of repetition, I think I just try to like be in their world in such a way that if I've got the physicality down, then it's incredibly believable as long as I'm living their truth, if that makes sense.
No,
I mean, For the Record is just so cool in that way because it's no other show do you get to embody different characters all in one show, and then you're playing a famous person at times, but you're also you're also Juliet. It's just really, it's an embarrassment of riches in my opinion as a performer.
oh, for sure, for sure.
Mhm.
Have you kept track of how many characters you've played total within FTR shows?
No, I should calculate that. I was just thinking about the Zemeckis show like I played there were 3 female tracks I think in that show, and I got to step into every female track, but within each track there were probably 5 characters. So even in just the Zemeckis alone, it was 15 plus.
That's insane.
Including like Jessica Rabbit. It was just Jenny from Forrest Gump, very different characters, but yeah.
And it's cool because they kind of like intertwine for people who haven't seen For the Record. They kind of like intertwine these characters that like one person plays and they make them one in a way.
And oftentimes, especially in the old days, it was one little costume piece that you would put on that would say, I am now this new character. So then you yourself had to make the shift. Yeah, I think Coen Brothers, we did Fargo, and so it's like you put on the Minnesota accent and your whatever, and so but you would have to switch back and forth. It was so much fun.
And Rockwell audiences love that stuff.
Oh my gosh, because they were just in on something really special. I know that we could feel it, they could feel it. It was just a special time.
So I want to get into Paramore on Broadway, but first, you've mentioned tours and being on a lot of tours. What is tour life like? What's it like traveling the country and performing for like different groups of people in different states where like theater is recepted differently?
Yeah, it's I miss touring. After I did my 4th tour, I said I'm never touring again, but now I'm like I'm ready to tour again. Because audiences are different, but in a way, you're going to meet somebody in Schenectady, New York, and then you're going to meet somebody in Dallas, Texas, and they still have something in common, and it's that they love the theater. So you're always just very warmly received, and you're really treated like royalty on a lot of the like Broadway Across America venues, especially. They bring these tours in, and it's their bread and butter, and they throw parties, and the audience just can't wait to see, Jersey boys. They can't afford to make it to New York City, so they're just chomping at the bit, and it's part of it's part of what makes them proud to be in their community, that they even have access to theater. And I love staying in hotels. It's nice. You have to be a little bit you have to be clever with your food and making like oatmeal in a coffee pot, but you get used to it and it's great. And then someone changes your sheets for you.
I mean, that's probably the best part. I'm sure like keeping up with health on tour when you're on the road and like traveling is kind of hard.
It's so hard. My first tour was a bus and truck tour, they call it, like a non-equity. And we were doing Gypsy, and we would stay in hotels, but we would oftentimes have to travel 14 hours a day on the bus. And then we'd roll into the theater. Bless our crew. I have no idea how they did it, how they turned the show over so many times, but they did not stay in hotels. They just lived on a bus.
For the theater.
And I remember I had this little like Tupperware box, like what you would put crafts and stuff in, or kind of like a file box. And I had my food in there, my instant rice, my tuna packets and stuff. And I got so sick when that tour ended. It was 9 months. And I got this mysterious illness when the tour was over. And I swear it was just from being malnourished, like just living on tuna and rice and, dinner mints and stuff. It was hard. So it was nice once I upgraded to the bigger tours and had more time in each city and got to make food. Yeah.
Have you gotten to tour like near your hometown and like had like friends who can't like maybe necessarily go see you on Broadway like come to the show and be like, oh, this is like my first like theater show or something?
Totally. That's been so cool. I think anytime we come through Nashville, a lot of people will come down and see it. And that theater is huge, and it's just that, you know, it's just like, wow, they're watching me and they're thinking like, we always knew you were going to do it, and you're doing it, and it's great. I think we went through Lexington once on my first bus and truck tour. It's a smaller venue, and my parents threw a big Kentucky party. We had cloggers. It's great being close to home on tour.
I can imagine. It's probably like the stop you look forward to.
Yes, I was trying to find any friends' parents. I wanted host families all around the country because I just love home. You know, I just like having a kitchen and having a closet and stuff.
Like an Airbnb type feel.
Yes, once Airbnb came around, oh, that was a game changer.
I wonder if it's going to come back around once this whole COVID.
I hope so. It's great. I think it's just, well, I mean, I guess it's not great for the hotels, but I prefer
it. Yeah. I mean, I've never done it, but I've always wanted to, because like I do prefer staying somewhere with a kitchen.
Yes.
In the closet, as you mentioned, like a full-size kitchen. Even though I don't cook. It kind of defeats the purpose. It just feels like it's like nice.
Oh, it is. Yeah, home. It's just anything that reminds you of home. It's great.
So you made your Broadway debut in 2016.
Awesome.
What was that like? Did you like expect it to happen when you auditioned? When you went in and auditioned?
I kind of expected to book it because I was doing Baz here in Vegas, and Scott Zeiger was the producer of Baz in Vegas under the Cirque Theatrical arm. And it was Cirque Theatrical that was doing Paramore.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had him as the executive producer. I had him in my corner because he had seen me in Baz in LA. Of course, you know, he produced the show in Vegas. And so he was there, and he really did fight for me because the creative team, they weren't used to putting on musicals. So Philippe de Coufflet, the director, he was used to the ingenue, or the lead female, being a non-speaking role. Generally, they're kind of clowny. They're clowns. Yeah. So I think that it just really threw them off. They weren't quite sure what to do with me. And I think what put me ahead, and this, speaking of working on the West Coast, I remember being at Pearl Studios for the final callback. We did a dance call, we sang, we read, but then when we were reading one set of sides, it was up close. It was a screen test, an actual screen test. And I thought, yeah, it was, you know, because they knew they were going to be using live video on the show. And I think a lot of the other ladies had not done a lot of television and film work, and were really uncomfortable in front of the camera. Whereas I had been on the West Coast, so I had done camera work and I'd done a screen test before, and I knew how to, you know, you kind of have to, it's different than theater.
Yeah.
You have to keep everything smaller, and I really do think that has set me apart, helped. So even though sometimes being in LA is really annoying and I miss New York, I think that it came in handy. It helped out.
It's funny that you say that, because like it's funny you talk about the differences between TV, film, and theater, because like you can tell when someone on stage has that TV, film experience and acting, and you can tell like by their acting choices and how they do like play it smaller a little bit. Like it's natural.
Yes.
Natural sense to
totally. It. Yes, totally. I mean, there's definitely a time and a place for jazz hands and like big stuff, but to understand how to tone it down and make it believable is it's another skill set.
What was your reaction when you got the role?
I have a video of it, and it's funny because like my very first tour, when I booked it, I remember in college, I was at this Mexican restaurant with my friends in college, and I jumped up and down, I ran around, I was just like crying and stuff, and I get the call for Paramore, and it's my agents, and and I'm like, yay, oh yay, that's so great. And then, you know, it was just this underwhelming. Inside I was so freaking sad. And then I took myself to Dillard's and went shopping.
A reward. I love it so much.
I was like, okay, I'm going shopping now.
Yes. Yeah. How did you prepare for the role? Because were you originally a character too for your Broadway debut?
Yeah, I started with nothing. I mean, they didn't have a script.
Wow.
I think I was the first cast, and then before they cast anybody else, I mean, I think they knew that a lot of the acrobats they were going to bring back on because they used a lot of people from Eris, which was the show that was at the Dolby in LA. They used a lot of the sets, a lot of the costumes. They brought back a lot of the same acrobats. So, but before they hired any other actors, they flew me to Montreal, and Andrew Lippa was actually signed on at the time to write the music.
Whoa.
So I was just like completely fangirling, freaking out. Went to Montreal, wrote a song with Andrew Lippa, and we were just kind of spitballing. Like, we don't know what the story is. We just know that it's a girl.
Yeah.
We know that it's Hollywood, golden age. We know she's a young gal. We know she has aspirations to be in the movies. But that's kind of it. And then we started kind of trying to figure out the love triangle before, the song was even existed. It was so organic. It was unlike, it was like when you're workshopping a show, 3 years before it ever sees the stage, but we did it all in rehearsals, and it was just quick, really. I mean, we had
How long did it take?
I guess it was 4 months, which is a longer rehearsal period than a lot of shows, but we would take the train down. We were rehearsing out on Long Island at Grumman Studios because we had to have the fly space and stuff. So it was a literal circus. I mean, there were things going on, acts going on all around, and then the actors, we would sit and we would have some pages that would maybe end up in the script, maybe not. I would sometimes get a new song, and I really got to have a say in everything. It was awesome.
It's kind of like, I'm thinking of La La Land, like at the end of it, when like they tell her that they didn't have a script in it, and it's like, oh, okay, you're kind of just like thrown into it and the whole creative process, and wow.
It was. And then it was also really art imitating life, because I was in LA singing in a club when Scott Zeiger, discovered me and plucked me out of it to put me on Broadway. So it was kind of like in Paramore, it was just very parallel.
Wow.
It was cool.
Do you remember the day of your Broadway debut and what it was like for you?
Yeah. Well, it was first preview. A lot of people say, opening night is the official opening night is your first, but preview was it for me. I mean, it was a packed house. I remember being very nervous, but I remember the bow. Like, I remember bowing and how just filled. I mean, I was just full of so much joy right before I walked out with Jeremy and Ryan. It was incredible. It was just, we did it. I did it, and it was like my younger self was just watching myself and applauding. It was so cool.
What do you think made Paramore like a show that was meant to be on Broadway? And like, I mean, did it essentially like skip the workshop stages kind of?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, our rehearsals were the workshops. And I think they had a little bit of some groundwork laid with the Eris show, which was the Cirque show. And but as far as, Cirque isn't used to telling a story and having English language songs and stuff. So it was definitely a brand new embark on their part, but they were just so proud and so excited. Even the heads of Cirque du Soleil came to see it, and they were just so excited because they'd never been able to tell a story in that way before.
I'm sure it was a huge spectacle. I wish I had gotten to see it so bad. And I wish I wish it was still like going on Broadway.
I know.
Like if Broadway was happening right now, of course.
If Harry Potter hadn't come in there and bought the theater out, we would still be there, I think.
Probably.
But I know they needed all that space. It's like the biggest fly space. They needed the space, and they
for them.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do think, I mean, it went to Hamburg and now it's closed in Hamburg, but I think it'll have life. There's talks of the West End and
Hopefully,
it's interesting. I keep getting messages now. Somehow word has gotten out, and I get messages a lot from college students asking for sheet music, and they want to sing the songs, and they're just discovering it online, and
wow.
listening to the soundtrack. So I think it's getting a new little kind of resurgence in a way, which is pretty cool.
Hopefully they can do like a production on the West Coast speaking of Vegas, in Vegas.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Because I feel like they already have like the space for a Cirque show.
Yeah,
So
you're so right. You're
hey,
so
manifesting that one to reality.
Hey, yeah, I mean, the sets are there, the costumes are there. It's just a plug and play at this point. So, yeah,
And
that'd be
it'd
cool.
be close to where I am normally.
Hmm.
So
And I wouldn't have to speak German. That was the
hey.
thing with Hamburg. I'm like, I don't know if I can do those songs in German. It
I
would be
mean,
such a
I bet you
brain.
could. I bet
I could, but I don't think I would know what I was actually saying, and that would bother me. Like
yeah.
I would memorize it by rote, and then I don't wouldn't be able to communicate like I like to do through the song. I don't know if I would like it, but
Before I move on from Paramore and talk about Marilyn, which I want to talk about
yeah.
uh because Gregory Neighbors wrote it
Hmm.
and he's a genius. What
Hmm.
was the most memorable part from Paramore?
I think for me it was being on stage with the acrobatic acts, and it was hard for me to stay in character while I'm watching because I never hung out with acrobats before, but they truly they put their lives at risk every single day. It's crazy, but the way they carry themselves through life, they trust each other,
Yeah.
they trust where they are. I mean, it was just that for me. I'll never forget watching the teeterboard act, from just so close up. I was just right there with them, and I could see their sweat flying, and I'm with bated breath, hoping that they land it solid and they don't land on their neck, and like, oh, it was just crazy to be around people that just defied gravity like that. It was crazy.
It gives you anxiety, I'm sure. It's like kind of like watching my sister's a gymnast or was a gymnast. It's
Yes,
probably like watching a gymnastics meet and it's like, please don't fall, please don't fall.
it was. And then you have to stay in character like everything's fine if they did fall. Jeremy Kushner could never do that though. Oh my gosh, anytime a foot would slip, he's like, Jeremy, you can't break character like that.
That'd be me. I'd have a heart attack like mid show.
And meanwhile, I'm just like kind of biting my tongue, like, oh my God, oh my God.
Ah!
At one point, we had this girl doing the hand to trapeze act, and she was getting tossed between a man on the ground and a man up at the trapeze. She was jumping sometimes from the trapeze down, and she was pregnant. And she would jump. I mean, I think after 2 months, I mean, she was pregnant for maybe and performing for a couple of months. But even those first couple of months, I was like, oh my God, I wasn't just concerned for her. I'm concerned for the baby. I'm just like, oh my gosh, just so much anxiety.
You could pay me a
And
million
awe,
dollars.
just awe. I was in awe. I'll never forget how impressed I was.
You could pay me $1 million. I would never do what those people do.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad they didn't give me too much of that sort of thing. It would have been.
Oh no.
Yeah. I was like, ugh. I know. I was training one trick in Paramore where we had a country western kind of scene, and they wanted me to do this passing cartwheel, I guess it was, to where I'm like, my arms are out, my legs are out in a cartwheel position. But then it was just the guys, and they had me lifted, and they just passed me, and they kept kind of rotating me and passed me along. And we had to cut it because during rehearsal, one of the guys, I mean, huge dude, like 6'4", and just big guy, he had me, and it was like nothing, but his thumb like slipped under my rib cage and popped my rib. And yeah, that was one tiny trick. And all the girls are like, yeah, you kind of get used to it. You build up a strong core, and you get, and I'm like, I don't think I want to get used to it.
After how long?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I don't
I
know. I don't want to be in
mean,
pain every day.
yeah, you could also get used to like throwing double backs, but like after 30
God.
years.
Yeah, your knees go. Yeah, no. I'm a
So
wuss.
yeah, that's insanity.
Mm-hmm.
So getting into Maryland, how did you get involved in that? Had you known Gregory Neighbors before from like
Mm-mm.
LA? Oh,
No,
really?
I had not worked with him really, I don't think. I mean, we had a lot of mutual friends, of course, and
Yeah.
I knew of him, but he came to see me. I guess it was Tegan Summer saw me in Baz, and they were at the time casting Marilyn, and they were going to go with a star. They were going to go with like a Lindsay Lohan or something like that. They wanted to stunt cast it, but then Tegan came and saw me in Baz, and he invited Gregory to come see me in Baz, and so that was when I met him officially, and that was when they were like, I think this could work. I think Ruby could do it, and we wouldn't have to pay a celebrity, thousands of dollars to not even be not even know what they're doing.
To not be as good as you.
Yeah, and so that's when Greg, like, he told the story that he had already written the big 11 o'clock number with Lindsay Lohan in mind, and then he said he saw me, and once I was signed on, he rewrote it and wrote it more for a singer, a musical theater singer. So that became a collaboration as well, which, gosh, I just feel so fortunate that I get involved in projects where I get to be the creator as well. So we, of course, got very close in that experience and just developing the character. And it was also awesome to work with Greg because he helped me. I thought, Marilyn, when she's speaking, she's kind of speaking like this. And I'm like, but I like to sing like, rah. And so that's when we came up with the idea that, okay, well, when Marilyn's in public, she's Marilyn. But when she's singing, that's her private life. And she can be her, and her true voice can come out. So that was an amazing kind of revelation for us. And it opened the door to do whatever we wanted.
I was gonna say they heard you sing in Baz, and they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we have to have her in the show."
They were like, "Okay, we're gonna make sure she sings in high F. Make sure we put these notes in there." Yeah.
Okay, high F. Like, how do you sing in like the high ranges? What's more difficult, the high or the low ranges?
For me, it's like right around a high C is really hard for me. So it's like in Back to Before. We can never go back to before. Like that note is hard for me, but like is easier. I don't know why.
What?
It's like a different placement. I don't know why, but yeah, it's easier for me to just go and belt at an F than it is for me to belt a C. I don't know why.
Well,
I think maybe it's just muscle memory, and it's like
maybe.
I can still do the splits even though I don't practice my splits every day. I can still do it. So maybe it's just something like that. Like I did it so many times in Baz that it's just boop, it's just there.
You sing over the love so much that
Yeah, I did it enough times that I've got it down.
How do you like work on like not straining your voice when you're singing those difficult songs so much?
I know it's for me. It's a matter of breath support, I think, and then, like I said, muscle memory. I think I've been fortunately blessed with just chords of steel, I'd say,
Yeah.
and maybe it is because I was hard on them, like I said, on the Grease tour when I'm, doing my sound check and I just sing hard. I just sing hard on them. And I'm like an army sergeant just on those chords, like, you will.
Yes, I will do this.
Do
I
it.
will.
Yeah, you won't whine about it, and you'll do it, and you'll do it better every time.
Yes, the determination.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no choice but to just nail it. Actually, I did a one-woman show in October, and I decided to sing every single 11 o'clock number that I've done. And by the time I sang the song from Maryland, I was spent. It was like it wasn't there. And that freaks me out. Oh my gosh, it freaks me out. I'm just like, I can't believe it. My one thing that I can rely on. You're like, come on.
But singing all the 11 o'clock numbers? What?
My friends were all like, what were you thinking? Like, oh, now I understand why there's generally only one 11 o'clock number.
Yeah, like per show, yeah.
Because you have to save yourself for it, yeah. So doing them all in a row was a challenge.
Yeah, probably. I was gonna say, well, at least you're ready for Wicked, where there's like 511 numbers.
That's true. That's true.
So, but if you could pitch Marilyn for Broadway, how would you go about pitching the show for Broadway? Because I feel like I heard one song from it a long time ago. I think it was at the Feinstein's venue in LA, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, that I love that song. Well, I mean, I think that the show is unique in that it combines songs that she did sing within her career with original songs. And then I think it's unique because it's a glimpse into her personal life, which everyone is so intrigued by. You know, everyone just knows the public Marilyn, and she was really lonely, and she did struggle a lot with not knowing who to trust, and she was used and abused in so many ways. And I just think that the show really was a look into how she handled that, and mentally and physically. And, you know, they were forcing her to take uppers and downers, kind of like Judy Garland. And we touched on that. And for me, it doesn't glamorize it too much. Whereas I think Bombshell could perhaps glamorize Marilyn and just show what was on the surface, which is what we've already seen.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think the Marilyn show and her estate even backed it, even considering that we you know, dealt with the drug issues and stuff, but even her estate backed it because it was her story, and it led to her unfortunate, you know, demise, or too soon, in my opinion. And it really is it's still a problem, I think, in Hollywood. People, you know, being used, or people being overworked, and being forced to keep a certain beauty standard and take diet pills, and I don't know, you know, it's still relevant, I think.
Yep, absolutely. From what you hear, like on that, like entertainment news sources, it's still very relevant.
Yeah, it is. So I think that it's a nice biographical piece, you know, not just fluff.
Would you say it's kind of like a jukebox musical, but with like original music?
Yeah, I guess in a way, because it does follow, it's kind of chronological. It follows her career through the years. So you get to see her when she's just doing My Heart Belongs to Daddy. And then you get to see her toward the end when she's doing that really, what was the movie? The Arthur Miller, when she was with Arthur Miller, and the Misfits, you know, so it's like from a little fluff thing, to the Misfits, where she was, I mean, it was her last years. So yeah, in that way, it's kind of like Jersey Boys, to where you see them and then you see how the fame kind of starts to break them apart.
Yep.
You know?
And it has the originality to it, which is epic. Like, which you don't see a lot with the jukebox musicals on Broadway.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Oh. And you get to know some of the other important people in her life in a way that is really cool too. You know, the way they wrote Arthur Miller, the way they wrote oh gosh, the head of the studio and stuff. And you know, you get to kind of get an idea about who she was surrounded by and stuff. It's pretty cool.
I mentioned that you could probably be like in Wicked by now with like all the 11 numbers you see. Speaking of that, what's like a dream role for you, or multiple dream roles on a Broadway stage, any stage?
I think now I'm finally aging into my dream roles, because I've always wanted to. I got to do Ragtime in college, and I really want to do Mother in Ragtime. I'm hoping Ragtime comes back to Broadway soon, and that I have a chance. I feel like it's about time, right? It's the 20s again, right? So they're actually doing it at Utah Shakes, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, it might be kind of an out of town, so I got to get in that production. Actually.
Yeah.
I mentioned it. I'm like, I need to find somebody's email. But then, you know, like I'm a huge fan of Ethel Merman, and I just can't wait to be the broad and to do like the Sunset Boulevards. And yeah, I'm ready to be the broad. I don't want to push it too soon, too fast, because that, you know, means I'm getting older, but I'm ready to be the broad. But I also just love originating stuff. So I'm still working with a few composers on original, you know, material that I just like to breathe life into something for the first time.
I feel like not everyone can do that. Like, that's such a challenging thing to originate something.
Mm-hmm.
It's more challenging than people would think to like come up with a character and like come up with like what the character does from the ground up in a show.
Yeah, everything from the physical to the mental, and why are you singing this song? What happened when you were a child that made you feel this way? It's just like the possibilities are so endless. It's creating a whole human. So that's really fun for me. I love doing that.
And then like passing the torch to like an understudy when like, an understudy goes on and like like trying to help like the understudy interpret the role, or like giving the understudy something to interpret when they're watching you perform it, so that they can go and perform it themselves. Like,
and I'm glad I was an understudy. When I was on the Grease tour, I understudied Sandy and Patty, and I'm just so glad that I had that experience, because I know how hard it is. It's really, you don't get a chance to rehearse nearly enough, and then you get kind of thrown to the wolves when you do have to go on. And it's really helpful if whomever's playing the role, if they give you just a few tips on the specifics of, even just where the why, even just the why is very helpful. Like, the reason why this character is singing this is because of this. Oh, thank you.
You mentioning that you understudied 2 roles, like also like that's insane, because like understudies, when they like they're understudying roles and they have like tracks memorized in the show, like entire dance tracks, and I'm like, how does a person fit all that into their like one head?
I do not. I don't know how. My friends who are swings and who cover 8 or 9 tracks and stuff, I just don't. It's almost like football. It's almost like you have to have a gameplay kind of, use diagrams, and it's like, well, this is where I normally am, but for this character, I'm going to be over here. And then normally I go upstage, but then I have to go downstage. And I mean, it is like, it's way too much to keep track of.
My brain doesn't work that way. I'd stare at a diagram and be like, what?
It's so hard. Yeah. My heart. It's so hard. And I think it was, shove with love, they say. When I was on for Patty, I think it'd been a long time since I'd rehearsed it or since I'd been on. And I'm just like, y'all just put me where I need to be, please. Just push me in the, yeah.
Yes. Help me out. I'll try to remember, but help me out.
Yeah, I'm a little vague on a few things.
But hey, that's impressive. And to be in a show like Grease, like, how fun.
So fun. The costumes were fun. Ugh, the people were amazing.
It's like it's so big still to this day. So
I know.
If you could make a For the Record show from like any director's movies, what director would it be?
Ooh. Maybe Julie Taymor. Well, I think it's time for a lady, it's time for a woman. Yeah, oh my gosh, I just say Julie Taymor because I'm obsessed with Across the Universe. I just love that movie so much. Yeah, I think Julie would be awesome. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, I also I've just been waiting. I don't think it's ever gonna be a thing because there's just rights issues, but Tim Burton.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be so cool. That's been in the talk. It's been in talks since I was in the company, and it's just never happened. I think because of rights issues and stuff. But it's just begging. It's begging to be a For the Record show, in my opinion.
Yeah, that would sell out every night.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure they could figure out a way. Maybe
you would think. Well, I mean, and the amazing thing about those guys is that they just continue to build their network, and they're Hollywood guys now. They've got Universal on their side, so yeah, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible for Helena Bonham Carter to see one of the shows and to say, "Hey, Tim Burton." Yeah, that's it's totally possible. It was Tarantino came to the show all the time to see the Tarantino show.
I feel like they're masters of networking and like getting the word out about the shows.
Yeah,
like that's why. It's part of the reason it's done so well, because like people can go to the shows when they're at the smaller venues and take video and take pictures, and that's like word of mouth on social media nowadays.
It was miraculous in that way. They didn't spend a lot on advertising. It was all word of mouth, and yeah, people posting, and people would post because they were like, wow, what am I witnessing right now? This is incredible. I thought I was just gonna have dinner and a show.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
mean,
expect for my whole life to be changed. Yeah.
in my opinion, I think it's better than Broadway, but like, like, I like the intimate setting.
Yeah.
Broadway is
No, I'm with
amazing,
you.
but I like the intimate stuff, and I like eating food and like good food while I'm in the theater, and
Yeah.
like without like having like you're not worrying about the like crinkling of the wrappers. I mean, you're kind of worrying about the waiters like crossing where the sight lines are, but hey.
Yeah, it became a song and dance in itself, working with the wait staff and everything. It was part of the experience.
Yeah, like not crashing into the wait stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And it would happen sometimes, but
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
everyone in For the Record was so good at improv that generally it would just become a joke or be part of the show.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I mean, even nowadays at like Rockwell shows, it's like people go up and like, or they did go up and like eat other people's food.
Yeah. Drink their drinks.
Did.
That was fun because we knew if we drank someone's drink that they would get a new one.
Yeah.
And we would also get to like have a sip of wine during the show.
I don't think that that's gonna happen for a long time.
I don't think so. That's definitely pre-COVID. Yep.
Yeah, that might not be a thing anymore.
Yeah, no.
So what's a fun fact or hidden talent that you think you have? So people wouldn't know.
Let's see. Well, I can burp on command. That was for a long time. That was on my resume, burp on command. And I would wait for a casting director to ask me. I think maybe I was asked to do it once. Now on my resume, I've got pogo stick.
What?
Yeah, I can pogo stick with no hands. I'm pretty good at the pogo stick.
Hey, that's kind of like Cirque.
Yeah, I know. I actually, now that I have friends who do the unicycle and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I could do a little show at the box. I could have like my pogo stick and, make a whole number out of it.
I'd be just as impressed with that as any of the Cirque stuff.
If I could pogo stick and like spin something around my neck and like balance something on my head and like juggle, then
I mean, just the pogo stick for me, to be honest.
I think my parents still have the pogo stick. It's not at my house here in Vegas, but they still have it back in Kentucky.
That's amazing. That's a great skill. Bring that into a show, like that you're part of the creative process for. Like,
I should.
No.
Actually, yeah, that does remind me. My friend who was a clown in Paramore, he is just so incredible. And I watched him do an act once where he got fully dressed while pogo sticking. Like he had everything laid out and he got dressed up like a lady. Like he put on a whole gown while on the pogo stick. He put on heels while pogo sticking, and then he continued to pogo stick with the heels on. It was so cool.
Wow, I can't even walk in heels. Like that's amazing. I would have secondhand embarrassment watching that for myself because I can't even walk in heels, let alone pogo stick.
Yeah, it makes you feel like, wow, I'm not as coordinated as I thought.
Yeah, like I can walk, but like I can't do that. Normally I can walk, like sometimes it's tricky.
Depending, on the sidewalk, if it's a little unlevel sometimes.
Yeah, depending on the day. So this industry, you've been a part of the entertainment industry for a while, and it's such a tough industry. I feel like you get so many no's sometimes, like during auditions. How do you work on self-confidence in an industry like this?
I think that for me, it's just like maintaining my friends and my family. I keep everyone really close, and I just have to have other projects going on that make me feel like I'm fulfilling myself. Like, so, Bandstand didn't work out. Oh, well, at least I have this book of poetry I've been working on, or at least I freaking nailed my lasagna last night or something, like I keep working on other stuff to try to, your worth is not, the roles that you get cast in. But it did take several years for me to realize that, where I wouldn't place my entire self-worth on every single role. That was hard, but it just takes a thick skin. And like I said, yeah, friends and family to say, well, you don't know why it didn't go your way, but you know that you did your best.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's hard in the industry, especially with social media, to like go on social media and like not compare yourself to other people, like even like friends and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, like this person sings differently than I do, and
right now it's hard because I have several friends on TV shows, and I'm just watching, and I'm so happy for them, and it's completely deserved. But I'm like, I want to be on a TV.
I think I know what Zoe's.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've got like 5 friends on
Yep.
that show right now, and then yeah, also on network TV, I've got a lot of For the Record alum are just nailing it, and it's awesome. And I totally get that. I mean, I went to New York and I went the theater route and we're all on our own path.
Yeah.
But it's very easy with social media to compare and to try to put yourself in other people's positions. So I try not to.
It's hard to take a break from social media and like not go on it and not compare.
Mm-hmm. It
but
is.
Hey, let's manifest Zoe's, because like I feel like more For the Record people should be in Zoe.
Yeah. I'm thinking eventually they're going to need like a sassy Southern something. Yeah, right.
So like send in something, Amelia. I don't know if you're looking right now, but
yeah. I think that's on my list this year. I'm gonna get up there to Vancouver. I'm gonna shoot an episode.
Yes. I'm gonna manifest that. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I made it happen, kind of.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'll give you commission.
Yes. Yes. So, what are you most excited about when theater can return safely?
Oh man, I'm just excited for that first audience. I cannot wait for like a big full house standing ovation. I can't wait for thousands of people to be moved, and to experience it together. I just love that. You can feel it. You can just feel it. And I like to pride myself in, making people cry when I sing. I don't know. I mean, people come up to me, they're like, you made me cry. I never cry. And so it's not like I'm really trying to make people cry, but it just happens. So I'm excited to just, to share in humanity via theater again. I cannot wait for that feeling that we're all in this together.
Enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
What a feeling to like have someone come up to you and be like, wow, like that was so beautiful. Like it made me cry. Like I can't even imagine like how amazing that must feel.
Yeah, I was saying actually a couple of days ago, I had a mother reach out to me. Her stepson here in Vegas had a project, and he was supposed to interview an actor or something, and I maybe he waited till last minute, and so on Instagram she was like, "Can you please help him with this project?" And I'm like, "Of course." And then afterwards, I sent them in. She said, "We remember so distinctly seeing you after Baz and telling you how much we enjoyed the show, and after Marilyn as well." And I said, honestly, I think saying hi to the audience after the show, I think I miss that more than even doing the show, because it's just so like the stage door and stuff. I mean, that's when you really feel like you're doing something that makes a difference.
Yeah, and I mean, people can talk about like maybe people don't think theater is essential, but it is, because like it helps people.
Yeah.
And like people who aren't performers, I think it totally is an essential thing, and it's deeply missed right now.
Yeah.
It's sad that
I know
pandemic has kind of taken it away, but hopefully it'll be back soon.
I've heard fall.
That's what I've heard too. I'm hoping for sooner, but I think fall is pretty realistic.
I mean, Broadway's going to be the precedent. I've been fortunate to be here in Vegas, where smaller venues are able to stay open, like if they're serving food and it's 25% capacity, but it's something. It's tiny, a crowd of 20 people, but it's something to kind of keep me going, keep me fed.
And in the meantime, virtual stuff is amazing.
I just did a virtual play last night, and even seeing like people's comments and stuff, it still kind of satisfies that we're all in it together, we're all seeing it together and experiencing it.
Yeah,
So.
I was gonna say you don't get the applause maybe and from virtual stuff, but you do get the comments as you said.
Mm-hmm.
So that's amazing. What do you have anything else that you've been doing or that's coming up that you want to promote, whether it's here or not?
Well, I do actually, with my housemate, we started a line of accessories, and we're going to launch it for Valentine's Day, and they're tassels, intimate accessories. Tassels like tessitura in Gypsy, you know, like twirly tassels, and they're really cute and fun. And so we've got a line coming out that I'm really excited about. We're calling it The Vault. So on Instagram will be The Vault Intimates, and you'll just see a bunch of tassels everywhere.
That's amazing. Well,
yeah, I felt like Vegas is a good place for it. Yeah, we're very excited. Vegas is a good place for it. We're going to get placements here in different boutiques, and I just feel like people come to Vegas and maybe they want to leave with a little Vegas-y souvenir. Why not make it fun? And I'm like, the Roaring 20s are back.
It's totally Vegas.
Yeah, so I've been working on that. That's been really fun. And then hopefully I've got my vocal studio set up in my garage now, so I'm hoping I can start pumping out some original music.
Yes, I would love that.
That's the goal.
A whole album would be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I've got enough songs for an album, so it's just a matter of being able to pay musicians to play them, basically. That's
and I'm sure people would be totally down to help with that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people are just want anything to do.
Yeah.
That's creative, especially so.
And we need music. We always need music.
Yeah. And I need to have something to share, you know.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's what I have to give to the world.
So to keep up with you and keep up with original music, with everything you have coming up, where can people follow you on social media?
Yes, please follow me. I'm mostly on Instagram at RubyLouLA, or Ruby Lula, as people say. I'm also on Facebook, and then I'm actually really proud. I'm spending a lot more time on my website these days, and I'm making it more of a subscription-based website. And my one-woman show is there, and you can rent it to watch it, or you can purchase it for download. And I'm just really trying to have that be the place where I make things available. So it's rubylewis.com. It's pretty easy. Yeah.
Love that. And they can go hear you sing all the 11 o'clock numbers.
Indeed. They're all there.
Love that. And they can look on YouTube too. Like there's Over the Love on YouTube. Like
oh my gosh. I think if you type my name in, then Over the Love just attaches to it automatically because people like watching it.
I was typing it in last night and I saw like someone say that I think it was for We Will Rock You, that they witnessed their first standing ovation mid-show after you sang Somebody to Love.
It's so true. It was like the beginning of the show too. It was that the placement of that song was funny because that's one of the 11 o'clock numbers I sang in my show. It was not at 11 o'clock. It was like at 8:15.
But what a feeling! Standing ovation then.
The biggest crowd we played on that show was in Mexico City. We played 10,000 people, and that, I mean, you really feel like a rock star. Like I really feel like Bon Jovi or something. It was incredible.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!